Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar on World Bank Treasury Summer Internship and Junior Analyst Program. My name is Jaskaran Singh, and I'm currently a Junior Analyst in Treasury Financial Technology team. I'm originally from Delhi and studied business and finance in Germany, the UK, and the Netherlands before joining the World Bank in Washington, D.C. Today, I'm joined by my fellow friends and colleagues who are delighted to share insights on their journey of joining the World Bank Treasury as interns and then becoming junior analysts, or also called the JAs. The objective of this webinar is to provide deeper insights on Treasury's junior professional programs in terms of applications, work experiences, day-to-day, and future outlook. To set the context, let me briefly start by explaining the significance of Treasury in the World Bank context. The World Bank Treasury plays a vital role in ensuring the financial sustainability and effectiveness of the World Bank's development initiatives, enabling the institution to leverage capital markets to promote its development mandate of reducing poverty and boosting shared prosperity on a livable planet. We recognize that poverty has no borders, and neither does excellence. Hence, Treasury is always on the lookout for diverse talent. With its summer internship program, Treasury is pleased to offer one of the only opportunities in the World Bank Group open to students pursuing their undergraduate degrees. The internship program lays the foundation to enter the two-year junior analyst program. Without further ado, let us begin the webinar, and we hope you find this session helpful. First and foremost, let's start with the introductions. I would request all the panelists to briefly introduce themselves, their background, current unit, and the units of rotation during the internship.
Okay, thank you, Jazz. So I'm going to go first. My name is Nahida, and I'm originally from Beirut, Lebanon. I recently graduated from the American University of Beirut with a Bachelor of Business Administration and Finance. And during my internship, I rotated across the risk and compliance, investor relations, and advisory and partnership teams. And eventually, I joined the risk and compliance team as a junior analyst.
Hi, everyone. My name is Beni Mushayuma. I'm from the DR Congo. I graduated in Uganda at Cavendish University in accounting and finance. During my internship, I rotated through the investor relations team, the financial technology team, and the treasury operations team. And as a junior analyst, I joined the data origination team. Happy to be here.
Hello, I'm Victoria Bond. I'm from Lexington, Kentucky, and I graduated in 2022 with a degree in economics from Boston University. I completed my internship in 2021 and rotated through the asset management team, the quantitative analysis team, and the market solutions team. And following that, I joined the advisory and partnership team as a junior analyst last summer. Jazz, back to you.
Thanks, everyone. Your responses already showcase the diversity in Treasury, not just in the form of academic background, but also in terms of interest, perspectives, and mindset, hence adding to a unique experience of working with and learning from diverse and talented colleagues from across the world. Now let's start with your inputs on the Treasury Summer Internship Program. How would you describe your internship experience in a nutshell? And what was the most memorable project for you that you worked on?
I think I'll go first here, Jazz. My experience was quite interesting, and our cohort, we're in the same cohort in 2021. Unlikely, we had to spend the whole summer during our internship online, and I was based in Uganda at the time. So despite the challenges, from my first rotation, I joined the investor relations team, which was quite helpful. I was surprised by the diversity in Treasury, people from different backgrounds from all over the world. So at the end, you end up being welcomed, and you really feel comfortable in a very very good learning environment. And by the end of the process, you really feel like you're ready for the next step and come back as junior analyst.
Thanks, Vinny. I'll follow that up. Of course, I agree with everything that's been said. But I think one of the advantages to the Treasury of having the interns is that we can provide fresh eyes on some existing, procedures and projects. And although as interns we may only spend 3 weeks with the team, we often gain a bird's eye view of how they operate. And as young people with maybe more unique approaches and innovative approaches to things, I think we can provide some business solutions that maybe some people who have been in the same teams or the same processes for a while wouldn't be able to. And that being said, one of the projects that I really appreciated and learned a lot from when I was an intern was with the market solutions team. I helped them research a particular hedging product that they were looking into, and ultimately it was not decided that the Treasury would offer this product to its counterparties, but I feel like I was simultaneously learning about a new product that I had not interacted with in classes or anything before, while also contributing a valuable deliverable to the team that I was working with. So that's something I really appreciate about the internship. And I'll hand it to Nahida on that note.
Okay, so of course I agree with everything that's been said. One thing that I would add for what Benny said would be that even though we're interns, we were put on big projects and exciting projects that I didn't expect to be on. So my most memorable project was actually on the investor relations team. So I, at the time, followed along the pricing, transaction, and press release creation for the fiscal year 2023's inaugural Sustainable Development Bond. And that was very exciting for me, especially being still an undergraduate student and being put on such a big project. But at the same time, back home, my mentor would always tell me to pick my boss, another job, and that way I'll get the most experience. But at the Treasury, it felt like I was picking both. So I loved it. The people here are wonderful, and the overall work environment is really great.
Thanks everyone for your inputs. While hearing your thoughts, it made me realize how unique all our experiences were of the Treasury Summer Internship program. Now, adding to the previous question, what do you think are some of the skills that you picked up along the way that could benefit you in the long run? So Vic, would you like to go first?
Sure, thanks, Jazz. I think, like I said, one of the main, draws to an intern, other than professional experience and networking opportunities to this internship, is just it is actually an educational experience as well, in many ways. And I mentioned the hedging product before, and then in my first rotation with asset management team, I actually, essentially got a crash course on mortgage-backed securities and that entire world and how they work, how they're priced, etc., which is something I had never been exposed to before. So that's a very particular set of knowledge, but that's one of the skills that I feel I wouldn't have been able to gain in many other internships, or at least not to the depth that I was able to with this Treasury.
Yes, I'll go second. I think one of the most memorable and key points when it comes to this internship is that you learn as much as there's no limits to what you can learn, since you're exposed to different kind of knowledge. And on my side, in my first rotation, for example, the investor relations team, I worked in different projects like the country partnership framework, and you end up learning what the World Bank does all over the world. And before joining the World Bank, I was studying finance, and I had this narrow view of what finance is. But after joining this organization, you realize how impactful it could be. And even as an intern, through the smallest task, you're having such an impact all over the world. Even when it comes to presentation, developing the skill of finding data and analyzing it, coming up with different analyses. It's really key to an intern, and it helps you in the long run.
Okay, so I'll go next. So just to add to everything that was just said, I think the skill that I appreciated developing the most here was networking, because it contributed not only to my professional development, but also to my personal development. So on a personal level, I was able to meet people from different parts of the world and like get exposed to different cultures, and that really like expanded my knowledge about how like finance or like other things like work in different parts of the world. But also in terms of professional development, the nice thing about the World Bank is that every team works on different things, and like you can always just schedule a coffee chat or lunch with anyone and just learn about what they do, or like even shadow them for the day. So it would really like, especially for us as young professionals, it would expose us to different sides of finance, and that way we'd have a clearer picture of what we want to follow in the future.
Thank you, Nahida. I think those were some really detailed first-hand insights, which I think will be super useful to the audience and also give them an idea of how rewarding this internship experience at Treasury can be. Now, coming to another question and going over to the part related to applications and recruitment, how did you prepare for this internship and the interview? Are there any useful tips or anecdotes you would like to provide to the prospective candidates on what worked for you and helped you stand out from the crowd? Nahida, would you like to go first?
Sure. So I think the most important thing first would be to like research like what each team does, because at the end of the day, the way the internship is structured is around like rotations. So learning what each team does and trying to like kind of figure out which teams you fit into most would really help in the way you would like shape your application. And not only researching, like I think a very useful tip would be to like just reach out to people on LinkedIn, especially previous interns and former and current junior analysts, and just learning about what they went through, what are they doing now, what are the projects they worked on. And I think it would be very useful to like building that understanding of what basically each team in the Treasury does.
Yeah, I'll follow that up and say, for me, this is, resume advice for any job, but I think it's extremely important to tailor your resume, not only your cover letter, to the job. And so in this case, that means if you have tasks and previous experiences or in your classes that, may not have been the most significant accomplishment that you made in those experiences, but they're a little bit more relevant to, let's say, finance or international development or these topics. I think it's making room for those on your resume, goes a long way. It doesn't mean you have to exclude the other things that, may have taken more time and ultimately been used by that particular employer more. But I think making sure that when your employer is reading your resume, they see tasks that are similar to what they will expect of you, or at least adjacent to what they will expect of you, is important. And then, that being said, moving on to the interview stage, if your resume impresses, then studying your resume before an interview, but also, studying the things that aren't on your resume, because I think having examples in interviews to provide that aren't directly pulled from projects from your resume, while they will maybe ask for you to explain something there, but when they're asking these questions about strengths and weaknesses, I think it's always good to have a few different answers, so that if you feel like you've ended up talking about one thing a lot in the previous questions, that you're not using a prepared answer that's a little bit outdated. And my last piece of advice, I guess, would be at the end of the interview, when you get that inevitable question, do you have any questions? It's okay. Always, I would have some prepared, but I would also be prepared to ask a dynamic question that's based on something that your interviewer has said during the interview, rather than something that they know could be found, on a like how to give a good interview website. If you can ask something that's specific to maybe one of the questions they asked, I think that goes a long way in showing that you're being attentive and things like that. I'll end there. Benny.
Well, it's hard to add anything from that, but I think what I realized was having a forward-looking like preparation is really key. Like one might needs to start preparing about the internship very early at school, and as a student, of course, it's very difficult sometimes to even add things on your resume because you have classes or you're busy with school and everything. But I think most of us, we joined by already being busy students. You always have some things going on at campus. You try to go out there, join different clubs, join different student movements, and 1 2 years after, you have a full resume of activities that you've been doing, maybe both in and outside campus. And I would advise that to tailor your resume and your activities based on what you want the hiring manager or anybody reading your resume to see. If you're interested to go towards finance, like finance internship, try to tailor your resume that shows that you're really interested in that field. Or if it's development, tailor your resume and your experiences based on that field. If there's a finance club or an investment club, join that club and try to learn more about what's happening out there. And I think when it comes to preparations about the interview and application process, it's quite a tricky step because you have so many applicants applying against you. And I think being ready when it comes to research, like Nahida said, is very important. Knowing what Treasury does, the World Bank is always out there issuing different bonds, but showing up on an interview not knowing what a bond is, that's really a problem. So I would definitely advise to go and research, go deeper when it comes to what Treasury is. Everything is on our website, and I think the next thing is just, yeah, crossing your fingers, I guess.
Thank you, Benny, and thanks to all for that advice. And maybe just to add, I think one of the parts of the application is definitely the cover letter. And I think that cover letter is actually an excellent opportunity to expand on some of the things that you've done, which are there on your resume. But you were brief in your resume, but you can add more stuff on your cover letter. And this cover letter is something that provides much more insights into also the motivations for you to apply. So I personally think that this is this excellent opportunity to add more motivations and genuine interest, because that is something that definitely gets noticed, and the recruiters are able to see that on your cover letter. So the motivation to apply is something which is definitely an important aspect to add and expand on in your cover letter. So what we'll do is now maybe go ahead and learn a little bit more about the experience of junior analysts and focus on the Treasury's Junior Analyst program, which is a longer-term full-time commitment to which the interns can apply after they have completed their internship program. All of us in the webinar are currently JAs working in different units within Treasury. Now, it's important to reiterate that completing the Treasury Summer Internship and graduating from your university are essential prerequisites to apply for the JA program at Treasury. Let's hear from the JAs about their work experience so far and how similar or different it has been from the internship experience. Benny, would you like to go first, followed by Vic?
Sure, Jazz. I think the experience as JA is very different compared to the internship experience. Because as an intern, you have the rotation. You're just spending 3 weeks with a team and then going for the next one, and you have to start over your learning. Of course, you already have a broader view of what Treasury is, but you have to learn what different teams are doing during a very limited time. But as junior analysts, you come and you focus on one specific team and try to understand the mission of that team and its impacts in Treasury and all over the world. So I think having participated as a junior analyst is a really different experience. I joined in the debt origination team, and my team basically stands at the forefront of debt issuance. And being part of that process, from debt issuance, from hedging different issuances, I think it's a very interesting experience, and you learn a lot from different members of the team. My team has people who have been 10, 15 years in the private sector, so and in different branches of the private sector, and it's a really diversified place. So you end up learning about everyone, both when it comes to the professional level and the personal level. I think it's really prepares you for the next step in your career.
Thanks, Vinny. Yeah, I would agree on the whole. The main difference is, the length of time that you're spending with one team. And so that allows you to have a much more complex understanding of what your team is doing. So, for example, I am with the advisory and partnership team, which is one of our RAMP teams. RAMP stands for Reserve Advisory and Management Partnership. And it's essentially a program for central bank reserve managers, as well as other public investors, such as pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, and international financial institutions to, get a capacity building services from us, as well as asset management services. And so that being said, the RAMP program, is something that we market a lot externally. And so and it's easy to get a very broad understanding of the program from an internship or from even just the website. But working here now for a year, I think it's surprising to me how many small details go into programs like these that would never be picked up by an intern in just 3 weeks. So that being said, I think it calls back to the value added I mentioned as an intern, where you can see the business processes and how they work, and chime in to see where they're inefficient, because you have this fresh perspective. And I think for me as a junior analyst, that's also where a lot of my value added has been, is looking at our program and our management of certain processes or data, and saying, why aren't we doing it this way instead? So that being said, I would not have been able to make these comments as an intern, because of the time constraint, and as well as my knowledge of finance has grown just a ton by being in Treasury in general. I think another benefit of the junior analyst program is just prolonged proximity to everything the World Bank has to offer on a whole, which is a lot of educational programs and networking opportunities. There's communities such as the youth to youth community that you can even have leadership roles within. So the junior analyst position just opens a lot of doors as a bank employee in general as well.
Well, thank you, Vic. Thanks, Benny. Interesting to see how an internship can be transitioned into a more comprehensive full-time program of working in a specific department of interest within the Treasury, ranging from client advisory services to capital markets and operations. I think we all agree that the internship program acts as an exploration period where interns are offered a wide range of opportunities to discover their interest and then undertake an in-depth JA experience to dive deep into their areas of interest. Now, coming to a more future-oriented question related to the JA program. So how do you think that this program has impacted your career plans, either academically or professionally? And what do you plan to do after the program? Vic, would you like to go first?
Sure. So it's a good question, because I think for me, my goals have changed while I've been in the program. And so I studied economics in undergraduate, as I mentioned before. And that being said, it was an interesting shift into a financial department at the World Bank. So I wasn't exactly sure. I thought my plans would be to go to, a development economics graduate program following this. And my goals have shifted a little bit, where I I do want to pursue finance more specifically. So I think if I did pursue a master's program in the future, it would be something more along the lines of MBA or a master's in finance. And that being said, I am actually not planning on applying to those such programs directly following my junior analyst position. I am actually planning to apply for more jobs in the sector. And I'd like to stay within institutional investing or even public investing. That's my personal goals. And I think that you can see that that's very much aligned with the Treasury, and that it's quite a big shift. And so I think just being exposed to how, just as Benny was mentioning earlier, how capital markets can have like a real impact has, inspired me to want to pursue that part of development economics, and I suppose development finance rather than development economics. Nahida?
Okay, so I can go next. So when I was in school, I studied finance, and I always knew that I had some interest related to law, but like I had never had experience in that area, and I was not sure if I wanted to pursue a law degree or not afterwards. So after rotating across the different teams and rotating on the risk and compliance team, I received that exposure that I wanted, and I became really interested in law. So I think after I finish the JA program, I'm gonna be like following that. But also I want to add that it's not only like the program and whatever I'm like working on the team, but also like the overall like area we're in. So we're in Washington D.C. and we have a very like big exposure to law institutions and different law schools and everything. So that has actually benefited me a lot in addition to being here.
I'll go next. Yes, I think, well, personally, before joining the World Bank Treasury, I never expected to be this exposed to the capital markets. I studied accounting and finance, and I always saw myself like as an accountant or somewhere in corporate finance. But after being exposed to how big the capital markets are and how impactful they are, I think I will definitely choose to continue my experience and my focus in my career in finance. And the team I'm in right now, the data origination team, we basically have daily exchanges with inside and outside partners, and outside partners are dealers, different banks. And I would definitely like to have an experience in the private sector and see and live what's the other side, since all our issuances are underwritten by these banks. And I think that will be my focus. And after my time as a junior analyst, I would definitely like to apply for different grad schools that allow me to continue my path in finance. Yeah, back to you, Jess.
Thank you, Benny, and thanks to everyone for expanding on your future goals and aspirations, and also how significant a role your experience at Treasury plays in this process. To conclude, I think we all are on the same page on how valuable our professional experience at Treasury has been and the role it can play in opening doors to new professional and academic opportunities. Truly, this has been an experience like no other. Many thanks to all for sharing your experiences and stories with the prospective candidates. We hope this webinar will be helpful for candidates planning to apply for Treasury's Junior Professional Program and motivate them to pursue a career with impact. Thank you.